From the outside, it doesn't look like anything important or spectacular. Nestled in wooded foothills far removed from the city, this rural farm hides the dark secret of a history of abuse and trauma fueled by the demand of traditional medicines popular in many Asian cultures. Thousands of years of traditional medicines taught that the bile from bears was an important and necessary ingredient in many elixirs, potions, and treatments. In the early 1980s, harvesting bile from live bears became an important industry in many Asian countries, often subsidized by their governments. The process was barbaric. Bears locked into tiny, rusted cages, unable even to turn around, draining bile from their gallbladder 24 hours a day, their life dripping away, drop by drop, hour after hour. And so the farmers bred more and more bears, their bodies merely a cog in a barbaric factory designed for just one thing: to make a ton of money for as long as they could until they died, trapping them forever in the most horrible conditions imaginable, encircled by hellish rebar, concrete, steel bars, surrounded by dirt and filth, given just enough food to keep them alive, serving a growing demand for this bile. And so, for decades, this most secret industry built on the suffering of hundreds of bears continued unabated. Most people in Korea were unaware of the trauma happening right outside their doors. Yet as time went on, animal rights activists sounded the alarm, and soon public opinion began to sway the legislators in Korea. New laws shifted the focus to the bear bile farms, and soon the breeding and importation of the new bears was outlawed. Yet the existing animals continued to suffer. Finally, in 2020, the South Korean government announced a full ban on bear bile farming, a huge success. Yet still, there were hundreds of bears trapped in horrible captivity. Many farmers, now without a reason to keep the bears alive, stopped feeding them, harvesting and selling their organs wherever possible. And so the race was on, to rescue and relocate hundreds of suffering animals before they were euthanized. To save the bears, the Korean Animal Welfare Association, or KAWA, immediately reached out to a long-trusted partner from far overseas, the Wild Animal Sanctuary. Years before, the two organizations partnered together to relocate 3 lions who needed rescuing from the Seoul Zoo following a fatal accident where one of the lions took the life of one of their keepers. Many in the Korean community called for the lions to be euthanized, yet KAWA looked for another option.
Our organization thought that this was also not a fair outcome for the lions. We contacted the Wildlife Animal Sanctuary, and they immediately understood the situation of the lions.
As it is with any international rescue, tremendous amounts of paperwork, negotiation, and coordination was required. Within months, however, the Wild Animal Sanctuary overcame the obstacles, and soon the lions were headed to the sanctuary. When they arrived, the leaders of KAWA who traveled with them were overjoyed at the tremendous peace and wilderness available for these big cats.
I thought it was magnificent. The kind-heartedness that I could feel when I was at the sanctuary was enormous. It was the best day of my life.
너무너무 너무너무 감동을 받았고 그런 생츄어리를 만들 수 있는 미국 사회와 또 많은 후원자들 그리고 CWAS의 관계자들한테 너무 고맙다는 생각을 했습니다.
And so, years later, Kawa naturally contacted the sanctuary, sharing with them the impending disaster of the Korean bile farm bears. The sanctuary agreed to help, yet the scope of the need was incredible. Rescuing 3 lions is one thing, saving hundreds of bears was a completely different matter. The decision was made to have the Wild Animal Sanctuary rescue a small group of bears so as to raise awareness of the bears' plight and bring the subject of the animals forefront to Korean legislators, in turn raising enough support and community well-being to build in-country sanctuaries in Korea for the remaining bears. And so, on March 14th, 22 bears were tranquilized, given needed medical treatment, and loaded into transport cages, beginning their long journey to the Wild Animal Sanctuary's refuge. These newcomers to the refuge were initially placed in small lockout cages, designed to transition them slowly from the small bear bile farm cages they were used to the massive open habitats of the refuge. There they rested for several weeks as the little bears acclimated to their new home. And then came that one day when their cage doors were open for the very last time, and they stepped out onto bare earth for the first time in their life. At first, most of the bears stayed close to the safety of their lockouts, exploring carefully. Some, not used to the immense space, circled and circled, spinning round and round on the same portion of Earth as if they were still inside a small cage, not realizing that for the first time in their life, they could walk in a straight line. As time went on, the bears disappeared over the horizon, deeper and deeper into the trees, canyons, and caves of the refuge. Within months, the bears had completely acclimated to their new home, only emerging from their hiding places to eat and drink, reveling in the quiet and peace of this place. Nature has taken her normal healing course, slowly undoing the damages done to these bears. Now they keep mostly to themselves. Every once in a while, you can see the blink of eyes from beneath a tree, or a cute little bear bottom as it walks over the hill, out of sight, into the wilderness.